Alright, so today we are going to be going over decision structures. This is the start of chapter 3. The main topics of the chapter are if-else statements, nested if statements, logical operators, comparisons, switch statements, and displaying formatted output. Alright, so this is the very start of chapter 2. We have our public class, which is average score, and inside the class we have a method named main. Inside the method, we're going to declare 4 variables that are of type double: score 1, score 2, score 3, and average. We're going to set up our scanner that we did in the previous chapter and set up our print statements to let the user know what the program is doing. And then we will assign score 1 to the input, score 2 to the input, score 3 to the input. After that, we're going to take the average of the 3 scores and divide by 3 to get the mean score. And then we are going to print out the average is, and then concatenate the string with the variable. And this is the new part. We're going to use the if statement. If average is greater than 95, we're going to add a new statement at the end that says that is a great score. So when we run this here, score 99, 98, 97. It's going to print out the average is 98. This is a great score. However, if we run this and do 10, 15, 20, it only prints the average as 15 and ignores this if statement. Alright, so right here we have a class named checkNumbers, and inside that class we have a method called main. The method creates 3 variables, number 1, number 2, and quotient. These are all double variables. First we'll set up our scanner, and then we will print what the user sees, enter a number, and then we will store that in number 1, which will be a double variable. And then we'll do the exact same thing for number 2. And then here is the new part here. We have if number 2 is equal to 0. It will print you cannot divide by 0. Please run the program again and choose a number which is not 0 for number 2. Now if this statement here is false and number 2 is anything besides 0, we're going to move to the else statement. There we'll do the actual math. Quotient equals number 1 divided by number 2, and then we'll print out the quotient of number 1 and number 2 is what the quotient is. So when we run it here, you'll see if we enter 5 and 0, we'll get you cannot divide by 0. Please run again. If we do 5 and 5, we'll get the quotient of 5, and 5 is 1. Alright, so here we're going to be looking at nested if statements. Right here we have a class called nested statements and a method called main. We're going to initialize 2 double variables, salary and years on job. We're going to initialize our scanner, ask the user what is their annual salary, and then we will set salary to the next input that they have that is a double, and then we're going to ask the number of years of the current job. Years of job is set to the next double, and here's where we get to the nested if statement. If salary is greater than or equal to 50,000, so if this is true, it will run the inside of this. If it is not true and it is false, it'll run the else statement. Now, once it is inside this, it will have a new parameter of true and false statements to follow. If years on the job is greater than or equal to 2, they will get this response. However, if it is not true, they will get this response, and this else statement down here will be forgotten about. However, if this is false, this will become true, and this will be the only thing that runs. So right here, when we run it, say that the annual salary is 75,000, and the number of years of the job is 1. You must be 2 years in the job, because this is true, so this will run, and then we'll run these next if statements. It'll look at this one. This one isn't true, so it's false, so it'll run to the next one that's true, and this else will always be true if the previous if is false, and no other ifs are true. So we're back at the same function here. We're just going to go over a little bit of logical operators and else if statements. As you can see, else if, this condition 1 here, and then if it's not this condition, it'll check if it's this condition, and if it's not this condition, it'll automatically go to the else statement and it will be true. So if both of these are false, this will be true. If this is false and this is true, this is the only one that will be true. And then right here we have a little bit of discrete math, operational logic here. So if the salary is greater than 50,000 and the salary is less than 75,000, this will be true. True and true will make it true. False and true will make a false. True and false will also make a false through true and false tables of intersection. So right here we'll run it, and we'll see that the annual salary of 90,000 and 2. You'll see that it runs, it sees that the salary is greater than 50,000, so this conditional statement is true, but salary is not less than 75,000. So true and false will make a false. So it'll move on to the next one. And it'll see that salary is greater than 75,000. This is true. It'll run, you are at the max pay for the company. Now when we run it again, and we say 65,000 in 2 years, we will get true and true. And then we'll get this is true. So it says, congrats, you qualify for a raise. Alright, for our next segment, we are going to be looking at switch statements. We have a method named main and an integer variable named number. We're going to initialize our scanner. We're going to ask the user to input a number 1, 2, or 3. We're going to assign that value that they enter to number, and then we're going to run a switch statement that will intake number. And in the case that it is 1, you entered a 1, and it will break out of that switch statement because it does not need to check any of the other cases. And case 2 will be the exact same thing, except you entered 2, same with 3. And then if they do not enter a number that is 1, 2, or 3, it'll run this default statement. You did not enter a number 1, 2, or 3. So when we run it right here, enter 2, you entered 2. Let's run it again, and let's say we enter 5. You did not enter 1, 2, or 3.